So today in my American political thought class, after I stayed up pretty late into the night working on this styrofoam, which wasn't really easy. For one thing, this part is broken, the handle's broken, so if I were to only the force of gravity really can keep it closed. So I can't. To put that under this would stress this part way too much. And this kind of styrofoam is different from this kind of styrofoam in that it's more like walking on ice, in that there's less friction when I put the marker down. Increasing. It's the kind of styrofoam where if you run into it with established colored marker with another colored marker, it runs significantly more. So there were times where I had to repair it after I accidentally left my hand or some part of my hand or arm on it and absorbed some of the marker paint or ink, I'm assuming. Several times where I had to go out and repair it like that. This is when I officially finished that styrofoam. And in particular, if I recall correctly, I ended up staying up until about 6:30 in the morning. I think I woke up with an hour and a half to spare before my 12:20 American political thought class. It's always at that time on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. 12:20 is when it starts, and it ends around 1:10 p.m. Considering how it's at Seymour Union 220, and I get my lunch at Harrison Dining Hall. And that left me just finishing up the lunch I got, which included a double cheeseburger, finishing up the brown rice, and the vegetable tofu. I have the vegetables. By the time the voluntary online session online lecture began about 2 minutes after 2:30 p.m. on Collaborate Ultra. At dinner, these are cheese banks. That's how I pronounce them. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing them incorrectly or not. I assumed that a holiday belonging to the Judaism faith was approaching, since historically that's when Harrison Dining Hall offers food items like cheese bank and Cool Ball. I kind of wish that these food items were offered year-round. They make for some pretty sweet treats. I assume that these options are available so that there's kosher food choices. That's what I'm assuming. I did some research, some brief research, when I got to my dorm room right before starting this, and it turns out that Yom Kippur this year starts on September 27. This is the holiday where this is the Day of Atonement, where you're supposed to fast for the entire duration of the holiday. I'm assuming you can have plain water. It is possible to go a day without water. But this would be ill-advised because it's not exactly healthy to dehydrate yourself when I heard that the human body is something like 70% water. Anyway, in Elvenar in particular, I set up a trade offer where I'm prepared to give 300 scrolls in exchange for some marble, because I need that for the next research upgrade, which, if I'm recalling correctly, will increase my squad size. Right before my American Political Thought class, I did a 25-minute speed walk workout within the hallway that leads to 220 Seymour Union. I ended up kind of walking like this. I would turn this way near the stairway, and then I would make a roundabout here, or sometimes on different laps on one lap I made a roundabout like this, but only for one lap. It continued like that due to how the hallway was shaped. And this is because I want to reach 10 kilometers for the Eagle Walk Run Challenge, because I believe the poster said that there's a special prize for anyone who reaches 10 kilometers. I'm planning on doing another speed walk workout to hopefully reach 10 kilometers total. While waiting for I'm going to place an order for some Rockstar energy drinks at 7, which is when the Nest opens, and then I'm going to do another speed walk workout, while waiting for that order to be prepared. Though, I imagine it won't take much time, given how the Nest is basically a convenience store. American Political Thought class. We talked about, I pulled up the article we went over in class today on my phone. Although I think also at that time I made some preparations for the COVID pool test I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I'm supposed to be at the cert for it, and I made some preparations by setting up, I believe, the account that's going to be needed for it. I'm going to have to send my Spanish professor an email letting her know I won't be able to attend class tomorrow, since I have the COVID pool test. Or I may just forward the email to my professor, or me professor. In American Political Thought, we went over the article dodging the check. An article that's supposed to show the British perspective of the American Revolution. Basically, at the time of the American Revolution, the British saw us as being ungrateful because we had it much better than those in England. My professor said that they would, in England at the time, they would count how many windows you had and tax you on that. I'm sure at the time people would be like, one, and then that's the only window within my dorm unit. It's technically not a house, but that's technically my living space. So, presumably I wouldn't be taxed much on that tax. They tax newspapers, though, if I recall correctly, the Stamp Act taxed pretty much every paper thing down to the level of playing cards by attaching a stamp to them. Which may be where the idea of U.S. postal stamps came from, maybe. Or maybe that's where it evolved from, but then there was, as I mentioned earlier, my voluntary starts at 2:30, Collaborate Ultra, online lecture, voluntary, for my Politics of Geography class. And because it's a voluntary class, the only way for me to get on there is by highlighting the link to go there within a Blackboard announcement. Personally, I think I might want the 8 skill manuals more than the 3 rare chests. The easiest way to get experience on this game is to simply complete the storyline missions. This one, you can get 600 experience for fully beating a mission. And I'm willing to bet that I can beat every single campaign down to all of these stars, except perhaps maybe the Liberation. But even then, I think I would get pretty far before being halted on that campaign. And in that light, I'm kind of looking forward to having another campaign be released. The professor talked about basically how interests of the interests around the frontiers of the oceans and space the potential opportunities within space is that as I said, getting to the frontier of space mining and whatnot to get precious materials such as diamonds and hydrogen within the vastness of space would require significant advances in technology. If I recall, I said these things relatively early on. And then I basically gave at the end of class, I basically gave my professor what thoughts I had at the time, to the extent where the environment influences people. I basically said that at the moment, the environment does influence people because some countries are poor through no fault of their own due to where they're located within the world. The soil within tropical places, I didn't say this, but the soil within tropical places is significantly less fertile than, for example, Europe and the United States. Granted, there's some crops you can only grow in tropical places, such as coffee and bananas, but they don't have the same nutritional value as things like grains such as corn. If I recall, corn is technically a grain. Rice and wheat, especially if you don't refine it. But then I also said that advances in technology are narrowing the difference. As my professor put it in his response, people are pushing back against the limits that geography can impose on us. He said that it looks like Utopia now. Everyone living with no geographic constraints. But then again, there was a point in time in which the idea of writing seemed absurd. So never say never on anything. In my official response in the email, I may add some historical examples of the environment affecting mankind. After the online lecture, I ended up falling asleep briefly on this bare mattress with this blanket on top of me, with my laptop on the bare mattress too. I think I slept for about 50 or so minutes. Technically, maybe longer than that. I recall the session officially ending around 3:20. And I recall falling asleep not too long after that. And waking up around 5 or so. 5 p.m. Roughly that time. Also, I was only able to take a half dose of this supplement since it completely ran out. I still have the chewable multivitamin and the iron supplement. Excuse me, but I should strive to get more of this supplement as soon as possible.